Trunks knew it was stupid to argue with Gohan. He'd been the Earth's protector, its champion, since he was a baby. He'd been keeping both him and his mother alive for as long as he could remember. But he was tired. Tired of living in fear. Tired of living in bunkers. Tired of hiding from the androids. His mother used to tell him that that's his father's blood speaking. That Vegeta would have never rested until the androids had been destroyed. The only time Trunks ever felt free was when he was flying. Up in the sky, past the clouds, all of his worries melted away. It was like he was 1,000 miles away from the world, safe, happy. But happiness in this world is short-lived, because then he heard it. An explosion coming from West City. He heard Gohan in the back of his head, telling him what he should do. He should fall back. He should go back to camp. Report what happened, and then they could work out some type of rescue efforts to save the people that were left. But he was hearing the screams as well. They were terrified. Anytime the androids attacked the city, they left no one. They made sure to kill everyone as they hunted them for sport. Men, women, children, it didn't matter to the androids. All that mattered was their fun. Trunks landed on the outskirts of the city, began assisting people, sending them in a direction of a bunker where they would be able to hide until Gohan arrived. But as he looked around, he realized that the androids were making their way towards him. He hurried, trying to save an old man from beneath the rubble, when he heard them both. They had snuck up behind him. Trunks turned to look at both of the androids. They looked nothing like the monsters that he thought of in his nightmares. Funnily enough to Trunks, he thought they looked like supermodels. Two 20-year-old kids out joyriding and having fun, not the murderous cold-blooded machines that they actually were. Gohan had always told him that in the event that he ran into the androids, he should run, but Trunks knew they were faster than him. If he tried to run, they'd catch him. If he tried to fight, they'd kill him. But he had to buy time. He had to buy time until Gohan could arrive, because at least with Gohan they had a chance to push the androids back, maybe even take out one of them. So Trunks powered up, and the androids chuckled. What did this boy think that he was going to be able to do against them? Gohan stood in the ashes of Kami's tower. It had been years since he had come up here. He remembered all of his friends. Krillin, Yamcha, Tien. He remembered when Piccolo died trying to save his life. He remembered when the disease took his father away from him. He even remembered Vegeta. Trunks was so much like Vegeta, hard-headed and stubborn. He had hoped that someone would reach out to him. Piccolo would have made it to King Kai and told him what to do. But nothing ever came. There was never any advice, no suggestions on what his next action should be. It had been 15 years of silence. He only came up here when he really needed to think. And that's when he felt it. He felt an explosion in Trunks' ki. The young boy was fighting. And there were only two people on this planet that would force this type of outcome out of Trunks. Gohan's blood ran cold. The boy was fighting the androids after he told him to stay back at base. He powered up and rocketed off of the tower, flying down past Korin's tower. He wondered what happened to Korin. When he had finally arrived, the towers, both of them were ghosts, destroyed and burnt to ash. He hoped that Korin had been able to make it out, that he was hiding somewhere. But the cat was gone, and with him the sensu beans. He pushed Korin and all of the other Z warriors he lost out of his mind, and he focused on Trunks. Focused on the fluctuation in his ki. He was growing weaker. Gohan was afraid that he'd let Bulma down, that he'd allowed Trunks to die at the hands of those murderous machines. He powered up even more and hurried. As he made it over the mountains, he saw West City. It was a bombed-out ruin. The androids must have had one of their little hunts. They destroyed everything, killed everyone. He felt it, a weak outline of Trunks' ki somewhere towards the edge of the city, and he made his way towards it. It was slipping away, faster and faster, and then he saw him. A crater, and at the center, the boy. Gohan landed and ran towards Trunks, dragging him into his arms. He tried to say something, but then he was gone. Gohan looked down. He looked down at a boy younger than he was when the nightmare first started. He thought of how Bulma, who had lost so much, had lost her hope, how this would destroy her. He thought about how he let down Vegeta, hoping to keep his legacy alive, how he failed his father to raise Trunks, and something inside of him just snapped. It wasn't only his rage, it wasn't only his pain. Everything flowed forward. And he screamed. And he didn't know how long he was screaming for. But his scream shook the world. Because Gohan had awoken something inside of himself. Something inside of himself that even he didn't know what it was. He couldn't feel his ki anymore. It was gone. It was red, and it was angry, and it was blazing. And in that moment, he had only one thing on his mind. To end this. To find both of the androids and wipe them off the face of the planet. So he laid the boy's head down. He looked down at himself, at this new power that he had unlocked. And in an instant, he was in the sky. And he was flying off in the direction that he knew the androids had went. Gohan would have his revenge. The androids would know fear. But on the other side of the world, something else had awoken. It moved in the shadows, with the form of a man, but the body and face of a monster. And unbeknownst to Gohan, its arrival would herald more death and destruction than he could have ever imagined.